Recently, I've been looking for a new game to play, because between having finished Digimon World finally, and waiting for Elden Ring Night Rain, and also working on another Digimon project that I can't tell you much about at the moment, but is coming, so, wait around for that. I've not really had a game to kind of sink my teeth into, and honestly, nothing was doing it for me. I had a slight addiction to Balatro recently.
This right here is my favorite thing, ever. In the history of forever.
But yeah, just nothing was doing it for me, so I thought, how better to find a new game to play than to look at some old games that I had played in the past, especially when I was little, because that's how I rediscovered Digimon World. And finally, my search concluded, upon looking on my old collection of PS2 games, with an old classic that I want to share with you guys. So, for those of you who don't know, / those of you who can't read the freaking title, I guess, this is Oni, or Oni. Not too sure how to pronounce it. Let me look this up real quick. Can't believe I haven't thought to look that up until now. I've been saying that wrong for 25 years. Anyway, this is Oni. Oni is a third-person shooter set in a futuristic dystopian world, kinda cyberpunky, pretty cool setting to be honest, and developed by Bungie. Yes, that Bungie.
Sir, respectfully, go fuck yourself up the ass.
And published later on by Rockstar. Yes, that Rockstar. Well, not really that Rockstar. So, from what I understand, it's a different division of Rockstar, so Rockstar North, which I believe are Canadian. Either way, Bungie, Rockstar, how could this possibly go wrong? And spoiler alert, it doesn't. With several caveats, because that said, this game is quite old, having come out in 2001, so like 24 years ago as of recording this, which means it does show some signs of aging, which is completely natural, and therefore any criticisms I have with this game really are through a lens of this game is 20 years old, and frankly, was ahead of its time, I'd say. Between the gunplay and the hand-to-hand combat, I don't really know any other game that did it as good as this during my childhood. Granted, again, when this game came out I was 2, so, could be wrong there. But more to the point, regardless of quality, I have never met another person on this planet who has played this game, other than my brother and my dad, who played it, at the same time as me. Granted, when I was playing this game back in the day, I probably shouldn't have been playing it, seeing as, again, I was very young. But anyway, I'm kind of rambling, so let's get into a little bit of the story, and then we'll go through the story as a whole, which will include spoilers, but they'll come later when I go through mission by mission. For now, let's just talk about the overview of the plot. This is Konoko, our protagonist, and agent for the TCTF, the Technological Crimes Task Force. An acronym I had to look up because even having played the game through multiple times, I didn't actually know what this stood for, which could be that the game never told me, but I'm more so willing to bet that I'm just stupid. The TCTF are basically the police in this world, except it's more totalitarian and they have a lot more control and a lot better technology, which is really depressing when you think the game's actually set in 2032 and we don't have guns that shoot fireballs yet. Your primary bad guys in the game are under a criminal organization called the Syndicate. Yes, I'm aware, such a creative name. Who are basically a collection of goons who want to do bad things, which can't really say what their overall end game is because it would kind of spoil some things in the game. But long story short, they're bad guys. You kick, punch and shoot them until they die, all while avoiding the real enemy in the game, the frickin' lasers, which I can never seem to time properly. Right, so I realise that's a really short summary of the game, but it is worth playing and I don't want to spoil anything, and a lot of the story would fall into that. Therefore, I think we should just get straight into things. So with that said, this is your last warning for spoilers. I will be spoiling the entire narrative, which, while the gameplay is fun, I would say is the main draw of the game. I mean, guys, Bungie made this game. The same people who made one of the most iconic first-person shooter franchises of all time. And also, you know, the other one, which has kind of one of the worst stories in the game. I'm not looking up a codex. But we're going to ignore that. Oh, and one last thing. Martin O'Donnell and Michael Salvatore on the soundtrack, just like Halo. Once again, knocking it out of the park, which is a metaphor I don't understand because I don't watch baseball. Regardless, soundtrack, incredible. Does so much for the actual atmosphere of the game, and honestly should be more iconic, again, which is going to be a theme for this game. Again, we're starting to ramble, so I think with a spoiler warning in place and all of my prior stuff said, let's get into the game.
Hi Konoko, it's me, Shinatama. I've checked our neural link and it's working perfectly. I'm so excited. Commander Griffin has authorized us to run through TCTF training program Beta 6. That means you're almost ready for field missions.
The first mission, or Mission 0, because it's not really a mission, opens with us doing basic training coached by Shinatama. Who's Shinatama, you might ask? Well, she's basically your only real friend. And is sort of like a little sister to Konoko. That said, her function is actually that of a assistant, as she coaches you through your training and field missions. She's also a robot, which you might be able to tell from looking at her. She has little robot parts. Still, very specifically, we'll later discover that not only does she have feelings, but she can feel pain, which is an odd thing to program into a robot. Here's a fun fact for you. The name Shinatama actually comes from mechanical dolls from the Edo period in Japan. Apparently these dolls were modelled after small children, so I guess that explains why Shinatama's dressed like a Japanese schoolgirl. Anyway, back to the training. Starting off with basic movement and learning to use consoles, which is going to be a big thing in the future. We quickly move to jumping, which proves kind of difficult with these clunky controls, crouching and sliding. We also get to do combat rolls and somersaults, which honestly feels pretty badass. Next we move on to basic combat, which is, well, punching, kicking and throwing, all of which feels pretty good. And we can even use combos, which we'll learn more of later. That said, I do feel sorry for Chappie over here, who we have to practice all our moves on, but I guess that's the price we have to pay to be a badass. Well, I guess we're not really paying any price. Oh, right, and I almost forgot my biggest gripe with the combat in this game, which is blocking, which you do by not pressing anything. I'm not sure if it's just me because I am horrendous at this game, which you'll see later on, but it seemed kind of hit or miss, mind the pun, when the block would actually trigger. I don't know if you had to stand a certain way, but I always ended up kind of gambling when I was blocking, so I tend to try not to. But again, that feels quite nitpicky, especially because the game came out again 24 years ago, and the rest of the combat feels pretty good. Additionally to this, I completely didn't realise that I'm actually on medium or normal difficulty, where realistically I probably should have gone on easy, but because of the emulator I was using, my save file got corrupted, and so I had to use save states and therefore couldn't go back to the menu and change the difficulty. And so later on when the game gets a lot harder, you're going to see me struggle quite a lot. But yeah, more to the point, I'm not going to be too critical of the difficulty in that case because it's kind of my fault and ultimately comes down to a skill issue. Our final training for this mission comes in the form of weapons training, in which we get to use two of the most standard weapons in the game, the equalizer pistol and my personal favourite, the plasma rifle. Now, the way guns work in this game is actually quite simple, but also quite seamless in how it blends into the third person action and the combat. So how it works is you can click R3 to holster or pull out your gun. It can even get knocked out of your hand if you have it out while you're doing hand-to-hand combat. And while the aiming is a bit sensitive and there's no sensitivity settings on the PlayStation 2 anyway, there is a fair amount of aim assist, which certainly helps with moving targets, which most of them are because you'll be shooting people. Ammo is also quite interesting because there are two types of ammo and every gun in the game uses one of them. There's ballistic, which are the red clips, or there are energy cells, which are the green ones. You can carry up to 6 of either, and you can only load them into guns of that specific type. And just while we're on the subject, you can tell this game was made by the people who made Halo because the guns in this game are creative. I mean, yes, you have your standard equalizer pistol or your Blackadder SMG, but then you can get stuff like the scram cannon, which shoots like a barrage of missiles that home in, the Mercury bow, which is like the sniper rifle of the game, except it shoots frickin' lightning basically, and is a personal favourite of mine. But then there's also the Screamer cannon, which shoots like a homing green killer orb, which kinda reminds me of a fuel rod gun from Halo. Or the wave motion cannon, which is carried by a specific boss we'll meet later. Oh, and just to add on, any weapon that you can use, enemies can also use, which is fine when it comes to the SMG and the pistol, but later on some of the guns hurt when they hit you. Anyway, after gunning down 2 more innocent robots, we finish our training and are ready for our first mission. Honestly, I really like this as an introduction and a tutorial. It teaches you all the controls, which there are quite a few, and it is a little bit complex. So it's nice that the game gives you the time to practice in a safe environment and also in an environment that makes sense. Granted, we've not learned everything just yet, and it keeps the first mission relatively easy as well, but we'll get to that. But I do appreciate the soft introduction. And I do think this is a really memorable tutorial, although that might just be me, because as a kid, the difficulty of the later missions kind of scared me off. And so I did stick to the first 3 missions plus tutorial, so I've played through that tutorial quite a lot. With that said, on to the first mission.
Give me another reading.
All systems nominal. She's doing fine.
This is a mistake.
You aren't really in a position to criticize.
The syndicate is using the warehouse to shuttle contraband. Chung went underground to gather evidence. He failed to report in this morning. Find him, and get me what I need to shut the place down. Or shut it down yourself.
I'm on it.
Update.
Diode latency holding at 27.1. Bioplasmic waveform stable. A class 3 adrenal spike when you gave the order, but nothing out of the ordinary.
What are you sending her into?
It's a simple bust, in and out. She needs a trial run.
Good luck, Konoko.
Listen, Konoko.
The first mission is as simple as a first field mission gets. We need to infiltrate a syndicate warehouse, find an associate named Chung, and shut the place down. The establishing cutscene introduces us to a few key characters, that being Commander Griffin and Commander Kerr. The former being a cold man who cares about the mission and results, whereas Kerr cares about Konoko's safety. We like Kerr, he's a good lad. They also mention something called a Daodan that they appear to be monitoring closely alongside Shinatama, but we'll learn more about this later. Making our way through the warehouse, we use various consoles to open up doors and shoot a few bad guys until one drops a hypo spray, which is the last part of our tech, that being heals. You can hold up to 6 at a time.
Konoko, there's something I about hypo sprays. I'm not supposed to talk about this, but data suggests that hypos will work differently on you than on other people. If you use a hypo when you're close to full health, you may experience the overpower effect, a temporary burst of strength and health. It will only last a short time, so try to take advantage of the temporary boost it gives you. But please, don't tell Commander Griffin I told you about this.
You see, this is why we love Shinatama. More to the point, this is great character building for both Shinatama and Griffin, as it establishes that Shinatama is willing to break the rules for us, which gains our trust, but also suggests that Commander Griffin is hiding things from us. After a little more exploring, we find Chung, and, well, he's been better.
Chung. It's Chung. I found him.
Dead?
Yes, sir.
Keep moving.
We find a data pad on his body that basically tells us that the Syndicate are partnered with a company called BGI, and that their daughter company, Musashi Manufacturing, is helping move contraband. After killing a few more thugs, we run into our first real enemy. This is a striker. Strikers come in various colours that scale with how tough they are. This one, who's apparently green and not beige yellow, is the weakest, and has no special moves. Actually, this brings me on to a greater point, which is that I miss game manuals. I bring this up because to learn the names of all these enemies, except for strikers, I already knew those, mostly because they shout it like Pokemon when they attack you. I actually had to review the manual, which had a full profile on each character, weapon and enemy, including abilities and weaknesses. You just don't get this type of quality anymore. After beating a few of these, we find a comm trooper, who is heading towards an alarm console, a special type of console that summons more enemies as backup, so it's imperative that we take him out before he gets there. We just about stop him, and after almost activating the console ourselves, we head further upstairs where we find and save a civilian. Civilians in this game are cool, because if you stop the bad guys from killing them, they often reward you with ammo or hypos. He tells us that they're holding the warehouse manager upstairs, so naturally we go and save his ass. After telling us that the Syndicate have taken over the warehouse, well, duh, he opens the door for us, and we head down to where they're loading a truck to export contraband, which leaves us 3 minutes to find a way to stop it. This is light work for a girl like Konoko, so we head back upstairs and find the controls to a crane, which makes short work of the truck, tipping it over just as our backup arrives. Wow guys, lovely of you to actually turn up and, do your jobs. After updating Griffin, he reluctantly gives us a shot at proving the connection between the Syndicate and Musashi, which sets up Mission 2, ending the level. Overall, this mission was a fun little introduction to a few remaining mechanics, like hypos, enemy types, and consoles, while the level's colour palette and general area design leaves a bit to be desired aesthetically. I think this mission is a great opener, and already drops a few hints as to where the story's going, plot and character-wise. Mission 2 pretty much takes place immediately after Mission 1, with Konoko and a small team of TCTF officers entering the Musashi manufacturing plant.
Good afternoon and welcome to the Musashi Heavy Manufacturing Concern. How can I be of service?
Konoko gets straight to the point with the receptionist.
We are with the TCTF, and we hereby order you to cease and desist all operations. We have reason to suspect that this facility is involved in the manufacture of illegal technology.
Of course, officer. I'm sure I can...
Little do we know, she's hitting an alarm under the desk. Not only does this mean enemies are incoming, but it also alerts two major characters. Muro, who is pretty much the main villain, and another guy called Barabbas who looks more like a main villain, but is actually just a sweetheart. We'll see him later. And what's worse, it seems that they've been expecting us, which isn't great for us really, is it?
Maybe someone with them, an exceptional agent.
I'm ready for anything. You make sure of that.
There is always someone stronger. Have you forgotten?
No, I haven't. I'll be careful.
See that you are. You know the consequences of failure.
Please have a seat. Someone will be right with you.
What the?
Heads up, we've got company.
The mission starts properly in an all-out fight between the strikers that arrive and us TCTF agents. And damn, TCTF agent has hands. After fighting our way deeper into the facility, Konoko comes to an important discovery.
This is a wild goose chase.
Explain.
This whole place, it's a trap. They planted that data pad.
To what end?
It's a diversion. It has to be. The syndicate is going to try something big while my team and I are busy here.
I'll try to confirm your suspicions. Until then, your orders are unchanged. Find something we can use to shut them down.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so no wonder the bad guys knew we were coming. They set the whole thing up. Naturally, even though we know it's a trap, we push further into the facility because we still came here to complete our mission. After finding a plasma rifle, we carry on until we reach this big room, and sweet Jesus! That was a scram cannon, one of the missile launchers I told you about earlier. They look cool, and they hit hard when they hit us, but tend to not do very much in my experience.
You were right. Syndicate forces are attacking a research facility 10 minutes from your current position. Get out of there, fast. I sent another team, but they're gonna need your help.
I'm on it.
On our way out, we run into my true nemesis and the true villain of the game, lasers. Well, I say that, these ones aren't too bad, but I swear they get much worse later. After making it through the lasers and getting bullied by some strikers, we mess with a few consoles, and after navigating a few more lasers, we head to this one specific console, at which point we get an update from Shinatama.
Pardon me, Konoko.
What is it?
I used a wideband theta scan to locate the control mechanism that was used to activate the facility's defenses. I'm detecting a biomechanical expert system with a full suite of interface overrides and intrusion countermeasures.
A deadly brain? I thought we tracked down the last of them.
Apparently Merle found one we missed, or manufactured one of his own. If you disable the device, we should be able to take control of the security system and clear a path to the nearest exit.
Finally, some good news. Where is it?
Heading towards the deadly brain, we run into a scientist who has potentially the best dialogue in the entire game.
I warned them not to activate it. It will kill us all. Run while you still can.
Why did you build it in the first place?
Well, you know.
Forget it. Just get out of here.
Here. Ah!
Just after this, we reach the deadly brain fight.
I've interfaced with the deadly brain. It's broken out of the Musashi intranet and is trying to gain access to the local TCTF public security node. Turn off those breakers, fast!
And I'm going to be honest, I completely forgot how this fight works at first, which led to a couple embarrassing deaths. The way it works is pretty simple in retrospect. You go around the room, dodge the lasers, and activate 4 consoles. If a laser tags you, well, the brain shoots you with various weapons, including a plasma rifle, what I assume is like an SMG, and what we'll later discover is a screaming cannon, which does incredible damage. Well, we already know how I feel about lasers, so this didn't go too great for me, but with a little bit of perseverance, we got through the first phase.
Unfortunately, the brain's subconscious is attempting to crash the public newsnet. Something about the glory of instant celebrity. Oh, it's unleashing a torrent of digital images of itself. Stop it!
Yeah, so nothing really could prepare you for how weird this fight is, and it does get weirder. But yeah, at the start of Phase 2, the brain starts leaking pictures of itself to the news in an attempt to be a celebrity? Sure, why not? It's not the weirdest thing the brain does. Oh, and Phase 2 has to be harder, so naturally there's more lasers. Just what I need. After one more completely avoidable death, and having to do the entire fight from the start again, we get to the next phase.
You must have decoupled its core logic on that final pass. The brain tells me it will irradiate everything within a 50-block radius unless we meet the following demands. It wants feet. Clearly, it's gone rampant, but its Zayak's destruct mechanism is extremely powerful. Complete the final sequence and shut that brain off for good.
Yeah. So apparently if we don't get the brain what it wants, it's going to irradiate the surrounding area. And what it wants is feet. Damn, didn't know he was freaky like that. No, but seriously, what a strange but almost understandable motivation for a brain that lacks the capacity to move. Granted, we don't care what he wants, because we're going to shut him down. And you know what that means? More lasers. A few console pushes later, and well, we're done. And might I just add, thank God we don't have to dodge that. I'm bad enough as it is.
How is she holding up?
Well, according to Shinatama, her Deodan latency has crept up to 29, but her bioplasmic waveforms are holding.
So she's still stable?
And so far as we can tell, yes, but prolonged stress could be dangerous.
She insisted.
And this is why I was against moving to Phase 3. We have no right to put that.
I'm getting tired of listening to your self-righteous tirades. Konoko is as much your creature as she is mine.
After seeing the brain shut down, we get another conversation between Kerr and Griffin about this mysterious Deodan, only now they seem to be talking about it in relation to Konoko. Griffin also describes Konoko as a creature and mentions how stress could affect her negatively. Also something about moving to stage 3, but we'll learn more about this later. Mission 2's nothing groundbreaking. It introduces the lasers, which I hate with a passion, but is a good mechanic. Obviously, the most memorable part of the mission for me is the brain. I mean, even when I fought it as a child, I remember finding the motivation and the little cutscenes in between really funny. You know, the brain wants feet. It's just so silly, but I suppose it makes sense in universe. The fight itself, if you can even really call it that, is quite lackluster as it's just dodging lasers and hitting consoles, which in many ways actually kind of sums up the game perfectly. Jokes aside, the character of the brain makes up for any shortfalls of the fight itself, making it a really memorable fight and a really memorable mission. Also, the concept of a deadly brain is actually horrifying. I mean, it's a cybernetic battle drone with a human brain grafted to it. Also, I think it's really cool world building that it's pointed out that all of these were thought to be seized by the TCTF prior to the events of the game. We also get the introduction of our bad guys and also a little bit more hint towards the mystery behind our main character and why she has kind of the powers that she does. So Chapter 3 takes place directly after Chapter 2, as we head to the bio-research lab where Muro went after realising that we were being diverted in the previous mission. Here we learn two things. Number 1, the TCTF officers are stuck at the gate and can't get in. And number 2, Konoko's a freaking badass. Oh, and you remember Barabbas, right? The sweetheart from the last mission. Well, we get to meet him this mission, and well, he's not really one for introductions.
Let's get it on.
Here we're immediately dropped into another boss fight, except this one's actually pretty good. For me, this is the most memorable fight. I mean, between Barabbas being massive, being able to heal himself, having special moves, and obviously the wave motion cannon, or as I used to call it, his big gun. It's just a really cool fight, and honestly I think Barabbas is the coolest villain in the game. I especially love that we can pick up his gun and use it against him. After a fairly lengthy fight for this point in the game, Barabbas retreats, warning Muro that we're on our way inside.
You're strong, but this isn't over. Not by a long shot. She's with them.
Who is with them?
The agent you warned me about. I couldn't take her.
Where is she?
She's on her way.
After scouting the area for weapons and pickups, we head inside, making sure to deal with a couple strikers along the way. After quickly dispatching a few enemies, we find a console that appears to open a door with 3 separate locks. Well, 1 down, 2 to go, I guess. It also lets us into these side rooms that have more enemies in, but also scientists that give us some cool stuff. And I just want to point out now, we do die a few times on this mission. Like, it is only the third mission, but you do feel the difficulty go up. Granted, it's not nearly as bad as the late game, but you do start to feel the difficulty creeping up on you. Loading back in, we clear the first floor again and repeat the process upstairs, where a kind doctor who we accidentally punch in the face gives us a force field for saving him. Force fields are exactly what you'd expect, except they only block weapons, no punches or kicks, which I think is a nice way to make them balanced, otherwise they'd get too powerful. After clearing the third floor, repeating the process again, we've officially unlocked all 3 locks, and then we get the fright of our life. Getting beaten within an inch of our life, we press on upstairs to the door we've just unlocked. Making our way up to the roof, we find our first red striker, who I believe are the strongest. And, well... yeah, so I was getting pretty mad at this point. I think I even had to do this level in 2 sit-ins, because you guessed it, straight back to the start of the mission. Well, not exactly the start, we don't have to fight Barabbas again, but still, the start of this part, which is the longest bit. After opening all 3 locks again, we head back up to fight the striker again, this time armed with knowledge. Next we find a new enemy called the bomb trooper, who are pretty sore losers if you ask me, because they kind of blow themselves up when you knock them down.
They were made in a factory. A bomb factory. They're bombs. Oh.
Konoko, once again proving she's not just a pretty face, therefore kicks him through a window.
Detonation harness. In 5 seconds, you and I will both be dead. The entire tower will be vaporized.
Following him down, we meet up with some TCTF agents, ready to go find Muro. A few bad guys, a few more consoles, and 1 death. Later, we find ourselves in this really cool green room. I wish I could show you more of this room, but at this point, I was pretty scared for my life because we were out of healing items, we were low on health, and I could sense the end of the mission and desperately did not want to be set back to the last checkpoint. So we pretty much bolted around the area, making it through the final door just in time to see Muro escape, which leads us on to Mission 4.
She's right behind us. Should I take her out?
No. Have the rest of the men meet us at the airport.
I like Mission 3. This is, as a child, very nearly where I got up to before I stopped playing because it got too hard for me. The Barabbas fight is fair, but challenging, but in a way that doesn't feel out of place for level 3. Honestly, the rest of the level does take a bit of a nosedive after that fight, but the last area makes up for it with its cool visuals.
This is horrible! Syndicate troops attacks are attacking the airport. I don't know if these numbers are correct, but there might be dozens of casualties. I still can't get a solid fix on Muro's position. He must be using the chaos to cover his escape.
Muro, stop!
Killer, I have a plane to catch.
The crux of this mission is essentially chasing him through the airport. And if the opening cinematic wasn't clear, there are civilians around, so it's important we don't get those caught in the crossfire. Fighting our way into the airport, it's very clear immediately that the Syndicate have absolutely ransacked this place, with civilians cowering and fire burning down the building. A little further in and we even get civilians helping us fight. Granted, they use their hands, but they do a decent enough job and draw some of the heat off us in these more crowded fights, shall we say. You just know that the Syndicate are employing absolute bums when random airport employees beat them up. Next, we come out to the airfield, which is surprisingly open, though it might be a testament to the game design that I never felt like I was lost out here despite there being quite a few ways to go. The longer distance did give me the upper hand in a few gunfights, as I could get off a few shots before the enemy even knew I was there. And hey, look, more bomb troopers. Well, I guess that's one way to deal with an unfair fight. After heading back inside and through another part of the airport, we get to this really cool hangar room. A couple red strikers, and one console later, and the mission just kind of unceremoniously ends. To be honest, not a lot of note happened in Mission 4, but also, I suppose, in a game with 14 missions, not every mission has to have earth-shattering story consequences. Sometimes there can just be a little interim between missions, and I think that's the case here. I do like the setting of the airport, mostly because it breaks up the aesthetic of the rest of the game that tends to take place in factories or warehouses or labs. I also like how this mission villainizes the Syndicate, because up to this point we haven't really seen them do anything that evil, like we're told they're bad, but causing this much harm to a public place with civilians around really does paint them as the bad guys, which helps us really see them like that for the first time.
Okay, so jokes aside, I actually don't mind Mission 5 that much. It does feel like an extension of Mission 4 because nothing really happens. On the bright side, that means I don't really have to show you a lot, except for this really cool cutscene at the end, which is actually quite sick.
I've been monitoring the woman tracking us as you instructed. Scanners indicate a standard comlink as well as a second set of subdermal transmissions. Analysis suggests that she is neurolinked to an SLD.
An android? Interesting. They must be using it to monitor her progress. I want it. Tell Barabbas to retrieve it for me.
But yeah, some pretty cool stuff. Well, aside from the subtle foreshadowing towards Mission 6 and horrific implication for our android friend, but we'll see how that turns out in Mission 6.
Showtime.
So Chapter 6 has us defend TCTF headquarters from an invasion from the Syndicate. And just right here, I just want to point out how cool it is that Konoko's outfits keep changing. Like, for a game of its time, it would be very easy to just have one model for the character and stick to it. But no, they do keep it fresh by giving her different outfits depending on what kind of mission it is and where the story's at, which I just thought was very cool. Fighting our way through the car park into the main building, we soon find out that the Syndicate are attacking us to take Shinatama as they are heading to the command center, and obviously we want to stop that because she's our homegirl. And I suppose she's kind of an important asset and has a lot of readings and data about us, which we probably shouldn't want to let fall into the bad guys' hands.
We've disabled the power substations. Static defenses are down. All units converge.
Anyway, turns out they're kind of landing on the roof and working their way to the command center, which is where she is, as is pointed out by Shinatama.
Konoko, hurry! They've landed on the roof and they're breaking into the command chambers. We can't hold them off for long.
Damn girl, I'm doing my best. Stop telling me to hurry up. So anyway, we fail and they actually get her.
No! Stay away! Konoko! Help! No!
Gotcha!
Side note, does anyone else think this cutscene's actually kind of hilarious? Like, especially the way he grabs her and just yoinks her out of the seat. No? Just me? Okay then. Eager to go save our friend, we continue fighting through the facility and... Wait a minute. I know this place. Finally, our search leads us to the roof, where we face off against an old foe once again, except this time, much harder.
You again.
You can't escape me.
Who says I want to escape?
So yeah, we gotta fight Barabbas again, which, well, not ideal. We've beaten before, right? Yeah, so I'm not sure whether it was the difficulty I was on or whether I'm just bad. Probably a mix of both. But this boss fight kicked my ass. Like, I think it didn't help that I started on low health and that was where I was at with the save. Had no heals. And oh yeah, guns don't work against him now, so you can't even pick up his gun and shoot him with it because he has like an overshield. On top of that, he has special moves and he also regenerates. And you might be thinking, well, you're on a roof, just push him off. Well, you can't do that either because he has a frickin' jetpack. After a fair few attempts, we beat him. And thank God. On killing Barabbas, we seem to get some sort of power up and swear that we're gonna go save our friend.
I'm on my way.
So in summary, Mission 6, or maybe Mission 5, but definitely Mission 6, is really where the difficulty sort of ramps up even more. Like, I was getting my ass kicked for a lot of this, and you could say it's because I'm bad, and I might be. I actually have no point of comparison. The only people who I see online playing this game are like wizards, but I haven't played this game in years, so you'll have to forgive me. But I like this mission. It raises the stakes, it takes character that we've grown attached to over the story, and like puts them in danger, which adds stakes, I suppose. And unfortunately on that cliffhanger is the end of part 1. That's right, this is a 2-part video. Otherwise it would be really, really long, and I'm very much overdue to post something, and I don't even know if this video is going to do well. So before I sink any more time into this project, please let me know if you're enjoying the video and you want to see what happens. I'll probably make it anyway, I won't lie to you, because I hate leaving things undone, but it would be nice to know if people are into it. And with that said, if you enjoyed and like my content, please feel free to subscribe. Really supports the channel, helps me grow and reach new people, all that YouTubery stuff. And yeah, I just want to say thank you for sticking out this long. I know it's a bit of a long one, and unfortunately I'm English, so you have to hear this accent for this long, which can't be great for you, but I digress. Hopefully see you next time. Take it easy.
Gotcha.